Tell me, I'm not alone in this. When learning a new skill, I get a bit overambitious. And so enters the nemesis of my story, the yarn that nearly broke me, questioning my weaving confidence before it ever had a chance. A friend commissioned some scarves to protect the head from the summer sun, a breathable fabric in light, in weight and color, something like this woven from fine linen singles, that's unplied yarn, to make an open, airy cloth at 40 ends per inch. This is a cloth from my early days of weaving, and it took me years to recover with broken ends, damaged loom, and the belief that I was a terrible weaver, when actually I was simply an inexperienced weaver. They are not the same thing. Well, Nemesis yarn, I know more about weaving now, and a lot more about linen. Let's see if we can become friends. My biggest mistake last time was inconsistent warp tension, so I begin by turning these skeins into cake. Cake. The yarn should feed smoothly now. Lots of things can influence warp tension, from the mood of the weaver to the humidity or temperature or the stars aligning or whatever, who cares. But to get the most consistent tension, I want to measure it all in one go. I've planned the stripes in advance, following my friend's drawing. That way I can measure the warp in one attempt. Linen is stronger when wet. Linked below is a video that examines some of the science and finds that damp linen has less tensile strength than dry. When wet, it has more stretch, but it isn't as strong. So it's not stronger when wet? Hang on. What? There are many kinds of strength in this world, be it the strength of steel or concrete to hold up a house, or the hot sauce that is strong enough to bring tears to the eyes of the toughest diner, or a hug's ability to strengthen the human heart. When it comes to weaving, we are looking for a specific kind of strength in our yarn. The strength not to break when we abuse it by beating, tugging, pulling, stretching, and abrading the yarn a few thousand times. Early in the weaving journey, we learn that linen is less forgiving than kind cotton or stretchy wool. If some yarns are tighter or looser than the rest of the warp, we get a sloppy shed. At best, this snaps the tighter yarns and we get to spend time repairing the warp, a lot of time. And then we do it again, and we might overtension our warp to compensate, and this can risk causing damage to the loom. Or we can live with a sloppy shed, which increases abrasion on the yarn or snags the yarn on the shuttle, creating more warp breaks. Anyway, it all adds up to linen having the reputation of the devil's yarn. And it certainly feels that way. Having woven only a few inches, I feel like this warp is cursed. But it is an opportunity to practice some repairs. If only the yarn could be more elastic, then it would be strong enough to withhold the rigors of the loom. Elastic, like how linen gets when wet?
If I wrote you a song, if I got every word perfectly weighted on a thin piece of paper, would it make any difference? Would it change for the better? If I wrote you a poem, if I posted a letter. Is it maybe because I never knew quite where I was, and suddenly you told me, baby, you're lost, but I else, what am I supposed to do? If you are not the one for me, then tell me now what I could do.
The funny thing is, I don't get these kinds of broken threads when it's raining. This tells me I need to improve the microclimate around the loom. A spray bottle helps for these crisis moments, but also gets water on the loom, which can damage the finish. I've set a humidifier under my warp and this is helping. It's just not helping enough. So I'm going to change things up a bit. Instead of turning the humidifier on just before I weave, I'll keep it on all the time. Once I made that decision, the ends stopped breaking. Just that little change of increasing the humidity constantly. I have no more broken warp ends. In between the scarves, I'm resetting the tension on the warp by weaving 3 picks without beating, and then beat. And it works like a charm. I mean, just look at that uneven tension. And before we know it, they are done. That was a fast weave for such thin yarn. That humidity trick really did the trick. And you know what? I'm kind of in love with this yarn now. Although look at that fluff. I sew the ends quickly to get it ready for fulling. Now, dry, iron, cut, hem. And because this yarn has yet more surprises for me, the yellow shifted in the wash to be less yellow and more salmon. Weird. This yellow yarn was dyed with coreopsis flowers from my garden using rainwater and alum. I'm guessing something in the minerals of my well water or the pH of the soap interacted with the dye and shifted it. That's a risk of natural dyeing, and it's still pretty, so hush. We'll say it's supposed to be that way. So what's your story? What is your nemesis yarn or other ingredient? What would it take for you to try again with all the things you know now?